After a sensational 7 months trial, Pistorious was found guilty of manslaughter. Presiding Judge Thokozile Masipa also convicted Pistorious of firing a pistol under the table of a packed restaurant. But he was cleared of the illegal possession of ammunition and firing a pistol out of the sunroof of a car. In October 2014, Pistorious started his 5-year jail sentence, but he was freed after serving just 11 months. He was then released on house arrest.
It's very important for the family to emphasize that Oscar's sentence hasn't been shortened or reduced. He's simply entering the next phase of his sentence now. He will serve this under the strict conditions that govern correctional supervision. The family will support Oscar as he serves out the remainder of the 5-year sentence handed down by the trial judge.
By the time of his release on house arrest, prosecutors had already filed an appeal against both the manslaughter verdict and 5-year jail sentence, arguing that the law had not been correctly interpreted.
The court never asked itself the questions. Was there alternative? Was that the only way? Was there a genuine threat to his life? So those questions, because the court of quo asked the wrong questions, was never answered.
We're not saying you're excused from firing. That's why he's convicted. That's why he's convicted of culpable homicide, because he was not excused. But now to impute intention because he contradicted himself, where he was trying to explain his state of mind in very, very difficult situations, is also not fair.
The Supreme Court of Appeals overturned Judge Masipa's ruling and ruled that Pistorious' conviction should be changed to murder due to the errors of law, a verdict that was lauded by both ordinary South Africans and legal experts.
Brilliant judgment by the full bench, a unanimous decision delivered by Justice Leach, ruling in favor of the state on the first and the second reserved questions of law, which is the incorrect application of dolus eventualis, and the second one being not taking all the evidence into consideration, especially the evidence of Captain Mike Mangena, and obviously setting aside the 5-year sentence which had been imposed.
The case was referred to a lower court for sentencing. The court granted Pistorious bail of around $700 with stringent conditions pending his sentencing for murder.
Since the applicant attended court, he has proved that he is not a flight risk.
Pistorious was ordered to hand over his passport. He's placed under a curfew for most of the day, can travel no more than 20 kilometers from his home, and he's electronically tagged. The National Prosecuting Authority felt vindicated.
We've always maintained that this case is not personal. We will always ensure that as the custodians of the criminal law and criminal justice, that any decision of court that is not in line with the interest of justice and the rule of law, we will always challenge that.
Pistorious' final hope is the Constitutional Court. He's seeking leave to appeal to the court to overturn his conviction. Some legal experts, though, doubt he will succeed.
It's a very difficult path to follow, one, and two, remember that the higher you approach the tribunals and appeal courts in this country, the more difficult it becomes. Remember, the Supreme Court of Appeal had a unanimous verdict, 5 judges that overruled the verdict of Judge Masipa. That in itself is also indicative of the fact that they were very sure of the case law and the law as such.
Pistorious is due back in court for sentencing next April. If Pistorious' appeal at the Constitutional Court is unsuccessful, he will have to return to this court for sentencing, which could see him serve a minimum of 15 years behind bars. Yodisandra Mela for CCTV in Pretoria, South Africa.